Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Got some Masters of the Universe figures from the Dollar Tree. Yes, really, these are only $1, and they're pretty small, as you can see, but they're actually pretty nice figurines. And a lot of people were talking about them on the internet, and I decided to take the plunge. I mean, they're pretty cheap, right? There's 5 of them in all, so I'm just going to rip through them real quick and show them to you, and I think you'll see that they're a little bit nicer than you might expect. The first one is, of course, He-Man. We'll talk about him first. And right off the bat, you can see these are definitely based on the old 80s cartoon, or cartoon aesthetic, I should say. There is one difference, though, from the cartoon, which I'll show in a second here. But number one, you'll notice the paint on these are pretty darn good. Now, it's not perfect, and we'll go over those differences, but I love the action figure face and hair. I think that's really key. Love that look. It's just very nostalgic to me. His sword, you can see they missed the cutouts on the hilt there, but that's okay. The silver paint you can see is really nice and smooth, along with all of the other paint, really. It's pretty defined. The separation between colors is pretty good. Now, there is a little bit of bleeding between colors, as we'll see on all of these, but I'm zoomed in really far here, and I'll probably reiterate that throughout. You're not going to look at these this closely normally. They are made of kind of a hard rubber, hard plastic. They're not articulated or anything like that, so they are figurines, as you would define a figurine, I think, normally. So it looks pretty good, though, right? I mean, I think he looks really, really good, especially for like a 1.5-inch figure. So we'll move on to another one here, and you can compare with He-Man. Skeletor, the big bad, of course. Nice pose, nothing special, but again, paint really good, really vibrant, nice colors. And I guess I would say these are more based on, the cartoon, or excuse me, the action figures a little more than the cartoon, I guess. I mean, they kind of go hand in hand usually. But you can see there's a little bit of bleeding between the blue and the purple paint on some of his armor and stuff, kind of in the crotch area and the boots and things like that. There's a little bit of a paint fleck that I found on the top of his hood there, which is a little disappointing. And there's also like a weird little nub above his hand on the staff. Just looks like a molding line or something, but nothing too egregious. And again, we're zoomed in really far here, so really, really captures the old action figures and cartoons, that kind of Masters of the Universe 80s aesthetic. So I think he's okay. His pose is kind of weird, but overall, I think it's pretty solid for $1. Orko is the third figure we'll look at here, and the colors on him I think are very, very fitting. The orange and the red are just very nice tones. They fit perfectly. He's kind of an odd figure because you can't really see his eyes unless you tilt him up like I'm doing so now, but and they kind of have them on this red stick. There is a little bit of that paint splash where his scarf is that I just pointed at, and a little bit of a pink paint fleck down there on his robe, but I think all in all this one is okay as well. I think there might have only been one of him at the store, so I couldn't really compare a few of them and get the one with the best paint job. But so you see a little bit of a paint splash there on the bottom of his scarf and on his shoulder, so not perfect, but by his ears that poke out of the hat and stuff, there's not a lot of bleeding from the blue to the orange or anything like that. And the stick he stands on, I guess that could be black, but I think the red kind of works. It just kind of takes your eye off of it. So all in all, not the best, but not terrible either. Man-at-Arms is next. And Man-at-Arms, I think the accuracy is good. We've got the one shin guard, which is always a bonus. Got his mustache, which is always a bonus. You always want the mustache version, in my opinion. So a little bit of a paint fleck on his thumb there, but you see his eyes. This is one of the ones that you got to watch out for because some of them have really weird eyes. Those black dots are not in the right place, and he has these weird, goofy eyes. But this one is a pretty good example. I'll just rotate him around here so you can see the back. I mean, Again, for how small they are, the paint is good. There's usually nothing egregious. You'll see a little spotting here and there, like you see on his thumb there, but his helmet is really good. They could easily screw that up. Like I said, they do mess up his eyes on some versions. You want to look at them in the store and make sure you get one that has a pretty good paint job. A little bit on his mace there, just one little paint splotch. So yeah, Man-at-Arms, pretty much a success, I think. And the final one that we have is Merman, who is always a crowd pleaser in my opinion. He looks pretty good here. This is another one you got to watch the eyes a little bit. I think his boots are supposed to be colored, but I'm not sure on that. That would make sense to me, but they're not colored here. I don't believe they're colored on any of the any Merman figures in this line. You've got his eyes. You got to watch out for those because they can really mess up the eyes. You can see there's just two little dots. His sword, there's not much detail here, so it kind of looks like a corn on the cob, but it works for a cheap, small figure, I guess. You get the point, but it does look a little weird. Rotate him on the back here. Looks like there's some silver spotting on him a little bit, but this is kind of a hard figure to pull off, especially the face, and I think they do a pretty good job. And that's everything. There's 5 of these. I paid $5 total for them, which I think is pretty damn good. They're great to just put on your desk or something like that. I have them all on my toy shelf, of course, since I have all of them. And, that's what we collectors do, right? We want to display everything. So I like the bases with the Masters of the Universe logo. They took a little bit of an extra step there to make that nice. And all of them are pretty good. I mean, you just have to make sure you don't get a really bad one when you're picking them out at the store. But for $1, for being, like I said, I think they're about 1.5 inches tall, I think they're pretty nice. What do you guys think? Would you check these out? Are you a He-Man fan that would be interested in this? Would you like other figures in lines like this? Let me know in the comments. Have a good one.